welcome to my channel PR Decoded. Today we're going to talk about the 5 fast and effective ways to start a conversation with anyone and to make friends. Because, as I'm sure you all know, the most primary skill that a PR person needs to have is to be a good communicator. A written communicator with your press releases and your written storytelling, but also with your verbal and oral communications. It's super important. You need to be confident talking to a wide range of people, talking to journalists and influencers. And what you really want to do is be making a connection with them, one that they remember you for, and that they want to respond to your emails and your messages when you're reaching out to them. So this is hopefully going to help you on your journey to making lots of friends and influencing lots of people. Let's crack on. Now, some of this you may say, oh, it's easy for her to say. But actually, all of us had to start somewhere. And when I started in PR, I didn't know anyone and I didn't have any connections and I didn't have any contacts. And I was often shoved in a room and told to network, where I would cower in the corner until the last possible moment and then sort of take a deep breath, have a huge glug of cheap wine and sort of force myself to do it. And whilst that was hard and it was intimidating, I now realise that the intimidation was all on me. It wasn't, I was worried about how I was going to come across to other people and they were going to think I was weird and a no-mate and a lonely person and all this kind of stuff, when actually most of those people in the room didn't know anybody else either. And if they did, maybe they only knew 1 or 2 people. It's easy to think that the room is full of all these people that are besties and you're sort of on the fringe. So you kind of got to give yourself a bit of a talking to, a bit of a pep talk, take a deep breath and really just dive in there and just put yourself out there because, as I've said a million times before, you get out what you put in. So don't get drunk by all means before you go in there. But if having a little, glass of something just takes the nerves off or the edge off the nerves, then definitely do. Well, that's certainly what I did anyway. So let's talk you through these 5 things that I always think about because I still get intimidated today and I still get a little bit nervous when I'm going to an event and I don't know anybody and I feel a little bit on the back foot. And these are the 5 things that I always remember. Okay, so number 1 is to smile. Now that seems like the most ridiculous and basic thing, but people respond to smiles. A smile shows that you're confident. It also gives you a bit of confidence as well. So sort of shove your shoulders back, have a nice smile on your face, not a rictus kind of like weirdo smile or not something that's like overdoing it, but something just genuine and just sort of just gives your approach a nice sort of positive feel to it. So definitely give a big smile. Also, what is worth remembering and what I have to tell myself the whole time is like we're always frightened to just sort of go up and talk to people because we think, oh, they're going to think that I'm strange and all those things I've said before. And even if we say something silly or something that we find a little bit silly and afterwards we're like, oh my God, why did I say that? That I carried a watermelon. When actually really think about the first time that you met the friends that you've got now, your long-term friends or friends that you've just been friends with for a year or 2 or whatever. Do you remember the first conversation that you had with that person? Do you remember the first line that you said to that person? I'm going to wager 9 times out of 10 that you don't remember it. So don't put too much of don't put too much pressure on yourself, okay? Just give a nice big smile, take a deep breath, pull your shoulders back and just smile. Now, the next thing to do, there's lots of different situations that you might find yourself in where, you need to talk to strangers or you want to sort of put yourself out there. It could be that you're going to some kind of sit-down dinner. And for me, that's always the easiest thing because you know who else is going to be on that table. Their placement, their name is sort of on their placement next, and you know that person's name. You know who's going to be on the table. And for me, it's a sort of they're going to have to talk to you because they're seated next to you. So it's a little bit of an easy win. But how I approach those situations is that I find out in advance who's on the table and who I'm going to be sat next to, if the organizer will allow me to have that information. And then I'll just do a little bit of research on the people around the table, particularly the people sitting next to me. And I don't mean stalky research like, oh, she's been married for 5 years and has 4 kids or whatever. None of that sort of stuff necessarily, but just very top line stuff about her career. You know, if it's a journalist that you want to connect with, I mean, obviously it's unlikely you're going to be sitting next to them and having dinner, but you never know. Read the last thing that they have written, be informed, and, you know, just understand a little bit about their world, because when you are sat next to them and you do have to have that conversation, and unlike being in a room and networking or at a cocktail party or whatever, when you are having dinner, you are going to be stuck there for a couple of hours, so you really need to have some sort of story, some content, you know, some sort of backups just to fall back on that are just going to help you to keep the conversation flowing. So that would be my second piece of advice. So first, hello, shoulders back, deep breath. Smile, shoulders back, deep breath, then a big hello is the second. So say it's not a dinner that you're going to, so there aren't any sort of prep work that you can particularly do, but you are networking in a room and it's full of people that you don't know. And you're standing up there and it looks and feels like everyone knows each other and everyone's great mates and all of that kind of stuff. You're kind of going to need to just sort of take the bull by the horns with this one. So you're going to do the things that we talked about earlier. You're going to take the deep breath. You're going to smile, you're going to say hello, and then you're going to bring something to that conversation as a starting point. Now, what I would do before I approached the group is just sort of sense check, you know, are they having a serious conversation? Does it look like they're having some fun? Is it a mixed group with men and women? Just so that you can slightly sense check, that sort of temperature check what that conversation might be and what a good starter that you could go in with. So for instance, if, you know, the worst thing to do when you're in a networking situation like that and you're on your own is just to stand up. Just to turn up in a group where a few people are talking and just to stand there and smile and not say anything, because then you do come across as a little bit strange, and you've got to go with some sort of contribution that you want to make to the group. Bearing in mind, this is a work situation as well, I'm presuming. So, you know, people are there for working. It's a professional environment. They're there to network as well, and they are going to be they're just as much important to, no, let me get this right. It's just as important to them to get to know you as what it is for you to get to know them. Just remember that, right? You're bringing some value to this space. So I would say, for instance, they're all laughing or whatever. I would perhaps walk over, smile, say hello, and say something like, you guys look like you're having the most fun in the room, so I'd love to join you. Is that okay? Do you mind? Something like that, just a nice little icebreaker. If it's more of a serious situation, then you could walk over a bit more solemnly and say, hi everyone, you look like you're having a really interesting conversation. I'd love to join you. May I ask what you're talking about? That's got you all looking so serious. I'm really intrigued. That sort of thing, you know, it shows interest and it shows you're coming to the party or you're coming to the group with an offering. So something like that. I think keep it gentle, you know, don't try to be too sort of boisterous and take over or whatever, but just, you know, gently in and, you know, it will work. Just have some confidence and go in with the right sort of opening message. Think about it first and you'll definitely be part of that group in a matter of seconds. Okay, you're in the circle, you're in the group, you're sat at the table, you've said hello, now what? Good question. First thing, name. Please remember the person's name. When someone asks you for their name, or you ask someone for their name, repeat it back to them within the first 5 seconds of them introducing themselves. And the reason you need to do this, or the reason I need to do this, is because I'm terrible with names, and the minute that someone tells me their name, I instantly forget it. So now I get into the conditioning where I'll say, oh, hi there, my name's Joe Jones, blah, blah, whatever. And that person will say, hi, I'm Sandra, blah, blah. And I will then say back, oh, hi, Sandra, it's really good to meet you. It's very natural, very sort of casual. It doesn't feel stiff or anything like that, but it ensures that that person's name is then put into my mind, because people get very offended when when someone doesn't remember their name. Say you've just had this conversation with someone for 15-20 minutes, and then a stranger comes up and joins the group, and you can't introduce that person that you've been speaking to for 20 minutes because you can't remember their name. So it's really important, get that name logged into your brain ASAP as soon as you've met someone. That's what I do anyway, repeat it back. The second thing is to use their name. I always find it incredibly engaging, and it makes me pay attention when people use my name when they're talking to me directly. I don't want them to overuse it because they sound very practiced and like a salesman, but just in a considered way. Oh, Joe, that was so interesting. What do you think? Why do you think that? Oh, right, great. It's our names are so wrapped up in our identity. They're our tags. They're who we are. And we respond very well when people use our names in the right way. It makes us feel valued. It makes us feel like that person's authentic and they're genuinely interested in us. So use people's names. Remember them, use them, don't overuse them. Okay, so another thing I would suggest doing, and I think this is number 3, number 4, I've gone, of course, I'll probably give you too many numbers, is to find something unique about them to compliment them on. Now, this has to be a genuine compliment that you genuinely believe. If you don't like the shoes that that person's wearing, or they're quite clearly horrendous, do not compliment them on them. They won't believe you. They'll think you're a liar. And if there are other people in the group, they'll just think you're a liar as well. So, or that you're just, laughing at them at their own expense. So try and find a genuine thing to compliment them on. Nobody is immune to compliments, myself included. If someone said, oh, Joe, let's say, oh, those shoes, oh my God, they're amazing. I love those. I mean, it depends on the company that you're keeping, but that would definitely go down well with me. Other things that I sort of compliment people on are maybe their last body of work that I've read that they've done. And it shows that I have read it, that I've been interested in it. I could compliment someone on their speech that they've just given, or the talk that I heard them do on a YouTube channel, or, it doesn't have to be something that's what they're wearing or their hair. I mean, it can be, and I don't think that there's anyone that I know that wouldn't like to be complimented on any of those things. It can be something a bit more work related or whatever it is, but find something nice to say, and it will really help you to stick into that person's memory, and it will really make them think favourably and kindly of you because you've been favourable and kind to them. So find a way to compliment them. Now, another thing, and this is the thing that I think people can find the tricky bit, and I actually find this incredibly weirdly incredibly easy, and really I love the challenge of it, and that's to find common ground. The minute that you have established common ground with someone, then you can really kick off a really great conversation and a potentially great relationship and friendship with that person. Now, your common ground could be the work that you do, the clients that you have. It could be the place where you live. Say, for instance, I'm sat next to someone and I've just found out she lives in Kent, right? I live in Surrey, and she commutes into London. And I would maybe say something like, how's that commute for you? I mean, I don't know about you, but a little bit of me dies every day. I have to get on South West trains. It's that person that's our common ground. We're now going to have a conversation about how much we hate the trains and commuter age and all of that kind of stuff. It will be funny. It could be that we've both found out that we've got kids and that we've both got 2 daughters. That's common ground. It can be that we're divorced, and that's our common ground. It can be that, there are tons of things. Sometimes you have to dig to find that common ground, and sometimes I've got to the place where I thought, I've just got nothing in common with this person. I just can't find a thing. And then something will come up, like something random, like, I don't know, we drive the same car, or our parents are both Irish or something like that. But if I can't, I find it a challenge. And that's what approach I take. I'm like, oh, I thought it'd stop recording. Sorry, I was about to cry. That's what approach I take. I take it as a challenge. I will find something to connect with this person, even if they're the most hardest to connect with person. I will find something that we can connect with, and I will find something that is going to engage you in our conversation, whether it kills me. So take the challenge. Don't be put off. Put yourself in the space. Find it. Find the common ground. I guarantee you will, if you just try hard enough. Okay, this is number 5, or it could be number 6, or it could be number 11. I am not counting. I probably should, but hopefully there is value here. This is important when having conversations with anyone. And I mean anyone. Your mum, your colleagues, your kids, whoever. Listen. Don't be half listening and thinking about what you're going to be cooking for dinner that night, or what train you're going to catch home, or any of those things. Listen to what the person in front of you is telling you. Actively listen. Don't be on your phone. Don't be half tapping away. Don't be looking over that person's shoulder. It's rude, it's disingenuous, and it is not going to make you any friends. So really do listen. And ask questions. By asking questions, that's when you can establish your common ground. Could be something banal, like, did you watch World Cup? Did you watch the Rugby World Cup final on Saturday? I mean, I did. I'm just so sad. I'm still so sad. Sorry. It's just so sad. Did you, have you got a dog? I was walking my dog last night. How many kids do you have? Have you read this book? Have you read this article or listened to this TED talk or whatever it is? Just ask lots of questions and really listen to the answers, because there's nothing that we like more, any human being, than being listened to. So really do remember that. Be a good listener. So that's it from me. How to make friends with anyone, how to talk to strangers, how to make connections, how to be a good communicator. This, I hope, has been a valuable lesson for you. Please do not forget to subscribe. And actually, before I go, there is one little thing you should do just after or I always think is a good thing to do after you've met someone, or you've sat next to them at dinner, or you've exchanged cards, or whatever it is. Don't let the grass grow before you reach out to them post event or whatever it is, dinner, just to drop them a line to say how lovely it was to sit next to them, and what an enjoyable time that you had meeting them, and you're so glad they were sat next to you because they made the evening and the event much more fun for you. Do it without asking for anything in return, and just then you are still in their mind from the night before. They haven't moved on yet mentally to something else. It's still in their brain, and now you've gone to adding another layer of creating that connection with them. So, and if you have, often another thing that my husband's really good at doing this is he writes books, he writes history books. If he's met someone really interesting, he will then send them a copy of one of his books or something, an article that they talked about. If you've sat around the table talking to someone about a TED talk that you've recently watched and it's completely inspired you and they sounded interested, email them the link. Do it the day after that you've met them. Don't let the grass grow under your feet, or it just doesn't, they've already moved on by then. So just a nice little extra bonus tip for you. So as I say, don't forget to subscribe. Every single Sunday I am going to be dropping PR masterclasses here, and I would love to see you here with me. See you next time, I hope. Thanks for listening.